Hey, it's Cigar Saturday Live. We're back with our first episode of the new year. So glad to have all of you watching. It's myself, of course, Tom Fisher, Matty Rock there, along with Sanj, and our very special guest. It's Monte from Monte and the Pharaoh. You know, Monte and the Pharaoh, the #1 pro wrestling broadcast. How's everybody doing?
I'm glad to be on the Bourbon Blog, man. Finally, it's finally arrived. So you know what? I think after this I'm retiring. I'm done.
Good, good. And retiring with some bourbon, in fact.
There you go.
Matt, I think Maddie's. Can you hear us, Maddie? Oh, I think Maddie's already retired.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I was gonna say Maddie and Sanj. It looks like they've already retired. It seems
we were doing that all the time. Sanj still hasn't slept from last week's friggin' giant to do about this, man. So he's a little bit beat up right now. He
I'm tired as hell, Tom.
He thinks he's fucking Batman right now. Dude, if you told him right now, dude, you got to go get your Batman costume from the inside of the bathroom, you go running and take off.
Well, it was a big week for you, Sanj. Tell us about I see you're smoking one. Tell us about the release.
So we released SB Black on my 31-year anniversary, January 7th, last Saturday.
Wow. And
we did good. 80,000 cigars are gone.
Wow, that's amazing.
And unfortunate thing is a lot of so this year we added 5 more retail partners. So from 35, now this year's 40, and I don't have enough product to give it to. We only give cigars to only 4 shops so far. So they're going to have to wait for another 2.5, 3 weeks.
80,000.
80,000
are spoken for, gone.
Gone. Right now, we don't have anything.
That's a lot of happy people.
So you remember that big box that we took pictures of and I showed you? That's gone. Those stacks that look like buildings. There were so many
pallets.
There were so many people here and so many people smoking. So there was over 300 people here. Do you know when I fart, I still blows out cigar smoke? That's how many people were here. It's like great. That's how I send out smoke signals now. I don't text anymore.
With that many cigars, how'd you even have room to fart?
Exactly. Well, nobody knew. You know, it was kind of.
I didn't know.
It was good. I got to blame other people, but it was a big deal, man.
A lot of people, a lot of support, a lot of boxes gone that day, you know. And so this year we did something a little different than last year. So this year we added 4 different places. So originally we gave them 100 boxes each to launch it on January 7th. The guy in Michigan, Ronnie, he pre-sold 184 boxes before the event even took place. And, you know, they couldn't believe it. And this is the cigars no one had tried. So people like, how to help people buying the cigars like that? And, you know, all the answers. I mean, you see social media, Instagram is loaded with SPs. And people from all over, they're loving it, you know?
Yes. Monte and I are going to look forward to trying them, aren't we, Monte?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm shipping your package out Monday, Tom.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I just didn't have any time. So
don't worry. We're craving them. We're getting this excitement.
You can smell it.
You're kidding, man. Look at that.
And Tom, you're gonna like this blend. So this is nothing we ever made. This is a little bit fuller body, but it has like almost 65% of dark cocoa, and so the minute it's a 7 blend tobacco. So there's only 3 cigars exist today, are made with 7 different tobacco. One is the Davidoff Oro, which is $550 a cigar, and that's also blended by Hilario Diaz. And the Opus Perfection X, the holiday one, I think is like $175, $180 a cigar.
With that tobacco in it.
And these cigars are $9, $10, $11, and $12. And this is, you got to feel it. When you get it, you've got to feel it. It feels like a purse.
So you could tell when I tell you. So you see the gradient printing on there, right? So with textures. Yeah. And let me do a quick. So this opens up out from here.
No, just slides open.
And you push from the bottom, it actually slides up.
Slides up. Very high-end packaging, vinyl coated. So if somebody has a humidor, walking humidor, it's not going to affect anything. And these prices are from 1992. In 92, the cigars were $9, $10, $11, and $12, and it's identical price 30 years later. Same quality, same construction, same everything behind it, you know? And I guess that's why people know our reputation, and people just buying it blindly. And so far,
yes,
not a single person in the United States have complained about this cigar of any kind.
I know it's
Any
going to
kind.
be amazing, just like the last one. What did those $500 cigars go for in 1992? Did they even sell them that expensive back then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, 92, you had a core line. So if you look at the time, Dunhill, Davidoff, they were very expensive cigars. Great Cliff, but Great Cliff at that time, you could only buy it at the...
Yeah, we had one complaint, by the way. Glenn's behind us, and he's complaining that there's none left. So if you want to come use that as a complaint, go for it.
Mark it.
You know, so Great Cliff at the time, you had to be at their hotel to get it. You know,
Right.
It wasn't for general public. You know, it was in any retail shop. But back in the day, Paul Grammarian, PG, they were very expensive. You know, so they had a lot of nice cigars back in the day. You know, but back in the day, even believe it or not, 30 years ago, $12 for a good cigar was considered nothing. And today, 30 years later, $12 is underpriced cigar. If you ask somebody, if you know, I'm smoking $12 cigar, they tell you, oh, you're smoking cheap cigars.
No, I think
how can I ask this question? How are cigars, something like that? How is that recession proof? How are you still getting that same price? How does that work?
Well, it's not that we're getting same price. So today's market, the way I explain to a lot of my guys and a lot of people, you know, in every blog and podcast I'm invited to,
right.
Everything, the inflated pricing today is manufacturer's greed. You know, so you know, most cigars, there is no cigar cost you more than $2. I don't think there is any fucking cigar in the market to manufacture costs more than, you know, $2. So let's say you bringing it to the United States. That's 40 cents S-chip tax, 17 cents VAT tax, right? So you're looking at about $2.60 a cigar, the most expensive. How the fuck that cigar MSRP becomes $24, $28, $29? That's all manipulated pricing. It's manufacturers make more money. 80% of the cigars that exist today in the market, the packaging is worth more than the tobacco inside. Remember that.
Right.
So what are we talking about? Like 800 points margin on a cigar? Is that what we're talking about right now?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Not with us. We make 42 cents a cigar.
Well, times 80,000 cigars, that's not too bad though, right?
Well, but that's the point. Listen, you after 9/11, this is one of my favorite thing. I always tell people, right? After 9/11, gasoline in America for car was $5.90, $5.80, $6, depending where you were, right? And then after that, the very first quarter, Exxon reported $1.5 billion profit. And people, all the Americans, all fucking dumb Americans, went off and said, how the fuck you making, you know, you jacking up prices, you making money. And they came out with the statement. Most people don't know. Exxon only makes penny a gallon, even today. But, hey, stop driving 8-cylinder, 12-cylinder cars if you can't worry about, right? So nobody wants to assume the responsibility. They all want to point the fucking finger. And I know that's, I guess, the way. But if you look at it, Exxon said, listen, if he can make a penny a gallon, then what the fuck we doing here? And same thing, listen, if I can make 40 cents, I don't want to make $4.80 a cigar. I want to make 40 cents. I don't want to make $10 a cigar that cost me $1.50, right? And $2 being very high in tobacco. So, you know, cigars are from 40 cents to $2. $2 being creme de la creme. So 90% of these cigars can meet standards. So, you know, if you say, hey, Sanj, I want to invest 100 grand, guess what? You could convert that 100 grand less than a year, 300,000. But we're not doing that. I want to give right product to right people for a great price. And that's why I guess if you look at Instagram and anywhere, you see nothing but SPs all over the place. There is no cigar posted like SPs anywhere.
Well,
And people love it. You know, listen, 90% of the people that buy stuff, I don't even know them because we don't do online sell. So, you know, the other 3 retail partners did online sell, and all their clients are posting, and they're like, how the fuck this is possible? And that's the whole concept behind that.
well, I can't wait to try them. Again, these are, at least this batch is done for now. I mean, you may find them a few places, but they're all spoken for, right, Sanj?
Yeah, so we probably have like 8, 9 boxes left,
Right.
and that's it. You
But
know,
the moment says, I see some people already saying they're on their way.
Yeah. So also this cigar, what makes it special, Tom?
Yes.
It's a Dominican wrapper, Mexican San Andres binder, but it's aged 1 year in a whiskey barrel.
Ooh.
And there is 5 other tobacco in a filler. So it's a 7 tobacco cigar. So only 3 cigars in the market today exist. So more tobacco you have, more blending, more know-how you need to do. More you apply, complexity changes.
Incredible. And a whiskey,
The
do we know what kind of
sweetness,
whiskey barrel? Do we know what
sweetness
kind?
in that tobacco is second to none.
Yeah. You're definitely getting that sweet dark cocoa taste. You're getting that like a goju pepper. It's not like like a lot of people talk about white pepper. Yeah. White pepper. This is not white pepper taste. This is like that sweet pepper that coincides with the dark cocoa. Like when you have those Mexican chocolates that have the pepper and the chocolate, that's right. The kind of distinction that you're gonna get on the stick. So Tom, you'll get them, and Mike, either I'll see you next week or we'll ship you out some to try, brother. And then while we're taking the horn, Mike, let everybody know what you guys have been up to there, brother.
Yes.
So we're Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, where we shoot every Thursday out of Indie Music TV from 9 to 10 p.m. We're on all social media, and then we have about twice a month some weekend shows where we bring in some of the old school wrestlers, new school wrestlers, do some 2-on-1 interviews. But it's not just it's not. I don't know if you guys know the terminology, but it's not a shoot interview where it's just a question and answer. We do a lot of game playing, some music. We're a variety show. So the idea behind the show is we bring these wrestlers, if you're a wrestling fan, and we bring some, B and C celebrities into the studio. And, we kind of get the inner thoughts, their political views, their religious views, beyond the usual, wrestling questions that go on. And the show has been highly successful, at least for the last 2 years. Most recently, YouTube knocked our channel off for being too controversial. And we thought about maybe calling it a day, but we restarted. And within a month, we're already almost back to where we were. So not too bad.
What was so controversial? What exactly happened?
Well, we're both big believers of freedom of speech, no matter what you think of, right? If we have alternative views on what's going on in the world or within the United States, that's fine. But we ask the question, and the guest answers the question. Well, in today's society, if you answer a question that doesn't go along with the PC narrative, you kind of get silenced. We were getting suspended almost every other week for commentary from our guests, and you can't have an alternative view from,
or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm trying to be politically correct here. If you're on the left, you're okay. If you veer off the left, you're going to find problems. You will be silenced at one point or another.
Well, it's but you got back on. That's the good news. Was there something you guys had to do to get back on?
No, we had the bigger problem here is, again, the show costs money, and we have a boatload of sponsors. We're on all social media where we get paid by all these social media channels. But when you lose an outlet, for example, of YouTube, that's a sufficient amount of money to lose within a month's period, right? And to rebuild to where you were, it's tough, and it's an issue. So again, we just reopened the channel. We had over 1,000 videos. We had to re-upload, and where we were getting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views, now you're not getting that same amount of views, which in turn you make less money. But the thing is, we've got new content, and now the new content is flowing, and we're doing fine. So we expect to be back. And again, our goal this year is to get onto terrestrial radio. We feel at this point we have the goods to knock it out. Again, this was just a shits and giggles thing that we were doing, two older guys just screwing around, and it just became very popular. So, there's some legs behind it. So we want to take a shot and see how we can do.
Yeah, and I'm putting where to find these wonderful guys up on or down below, so you can follow their channel. And we're all about the freedom of speech and supporting you all. So glad to see that you're back at it there on YouTube. And go into a little more detail how this. Listen to the podcast, watched your videos. How did this whole thing start, and how did it blossom? It's a great story.
Well, some way back to 3.5 years ago, over social media, someone asked me to guest host on one of their shows on another station. I guess I'm new to this, right? So in my real life, I'm a director for a company, and I was like, you know what, this is a good bucket thing to do, right? Like a bucket list thing. So I go in there, we have a good time. He asked me to come on the following week. And then before you know it, I'm just on there every week, right? And my friend, Jimmy Pharaoh, I knew him from high school. We hadn't spoken for God knows how long, 10 years or so. And he had seen me on there. He reached out to me. And then before you knew it, he was kind of guesting on the show. And then me and Jimmy have some sort of chemistry, right? I don't know where it's from, but we're on two different sides of the planet, and we kind of run off of each other, and we just have crazy conversations and funny stuff. And we ended up saying, hey, we're just going to do our own show. And we had another station contact us, and they're like, hey, we'd like to have you at our station. It'll be a paid gig. We moved over there. And, again, I was new to the whole thing. Basically, everybody was using Facebook at the time. And as it started to advance, we started going onto other social media platforms, like Facebook was the starting thing, and then Twitter, and it just all starts building from there. And then once we got onto YouTube, that's when the popularity started coming, because we were giving fans out there material that they haven't seen, right? Because all that was out there basically was, hey, I'm going to ask you a question about wrestling. You're going to answer. Then I'm going to ask you another question. You're going to answer. We came with this variety show, right? And asking questions that wouldn't normally be asked, and challenging questions too, right? Rock knows. Rock and I have spoke about it. The wrestling world is a crazy.
There's nothing like it. And then when you get all those personalities and everything, to give you a funny one. Sorry, all right, we got poor Tom. You're going to get kicked a little bit on this one. So one of our first wrestling guests was Sags. So you can imagine poor Tom. Poor Tom got a real entrance into the wrestling world with Sags being one of the first guests. And that's the cool thing about wrestlers. They keep it, even if they're in, we'll call it the kayfabe gimmick, whatever. It's still the essence of reality for something, like I said, that you wouldn't think. You're going to get guys that are really forthcoming. You're going to get guys that are more than particularly honest and truthful. So when you interview guys like this, it's kind of like how their lives are in the wrestling world. It's no holds barred, and very much the same. And you got Mike and Pharaoh doing it. You're getting the best out of these guys because there's no holds barred. You're asking them. They're treating their life outside of the ring and doing shows like this just like they do on the inside the ring. So you get really, really wild shit. And, Tom's seen it. We've had Andrew Anderson on. We've had Nana on. We've had Lloyd on. We've had Rikishi on. So we've had, a bunch of different people where you're like, all right, this is cool. That, it's the same kind of thing. It gives you the same adrenaline. in the ring and outside of the ring. And that's what makes what Monte and the Pharaoh do such an important thing to the people who really want to kind of know more without, here's the guidelines of what you have to do. Kind of what we do here, Tom. Everything's open form, free form. Everybody speaks their mind. And when you get to that kind of crowd, they're just going to speak their mind, because that's what part of being a professional wrestler is. Put it all out there, because you're given everything that your body can do to perform and be out there. So they're going to give you everything on the other end too. And when they're on camera, and when they're doing interviews, and when they're doing shows. So it makes for a wild ride.
Well, to add on that, right? They do so many of these shoot interviews, right? And it's got to become very boring to them at some point. So the questions we ask them, you could see they're kind of like a caged animal, right? They can't believe these questions are coming at them, and they want to answer them, right? Because who the hell doesn't want to talk about what's going on in the United States right now? Who doesn't want to talk about President Biden or former President Trump? Who doesn't want to talk about the vaccine and COVID and on and on and on and on? And then before you know it, they're in a relaxed state, because, look, again, we don't take cheap shots, right? We ask a question, you answer it. You don't want to answer it. In fact, we had Enzo on today. He didn't want to answer a question. We moved on. Doesn't happen often, but then you start getting the emotion of the wrestler, right? And that's the most I get out of it, when you can see the raw emotion, and they break down in tears, and they start thinking about their former friends who have passed away, or maybe some family members, or God forbid there was a murder, or whatever the situation is. So when you watch and then again, on the light side, you get to see a wrestler sing a song with my partner, right? I mean, who doesn't want to see that? Or we'll play a game called Hit It or Quit It, where we put some hot women on there, and they give us their analysis, whether they would hit it or they quit it. But it's not just answer, right? They have to explain it, and they enjoy it. These guys actually come on the show, they sit back, they relax, they have a few beers if it's at nighttime, and they enjoy it. And for me, being an old wrestling fan, what an honor, what a humbling experience, right? And then look at this. Then you start meeting other people like yourself or Rock, and then you see these other people in the world, and you start getting into these other venues, and you're like, holy shit, there's a lot of other stuff out there instead of the little box that I've been living in for the last 51 years,
Right. Yeah, you definitely you dig deeper, you go further. I think that's so important. I mean, that's what a good interview is to make that happen. What is there something in your experience that led you to want to have a show that would dig deeper, that would do this? Was it more of a natural unfolding as you found your voices on the show?
So, like I said, it was a bucket list thing, and the evolution was, let's just do what everybody else is doing, right? Because you don't know any better. And me personally, right, I'm a sports guy. I love sports. I grew up loving professional wrestling. But if you tell me, hey, Mike, do you love it? Like, do you live it? No, man, I don't. I like the old school guys because of the memories that they've given me when I was a child or when I was in my teens, and I would go to Madison Square Garden and see these guys. Right. But I said to myself, as a person, right, in my real life, I'm a manager and I manage people. I've been doing that for 30-something years. I like the inner workings of the human being, right? I love the thought process of the human beings. And I said to Pharaoh, I don't want to do a show asking wrestling questions. Of course you ask wrestling questions, right? It is a wrestling show. But I said, I want to know more, right? And I want this to be different. And it may not work, right? People, there's people that don't like the show, right? They write, you guys suck, ask some wrestling questions. But I think people in life are conditioned to a certain expectation, right? We're conditioned animals, and you have to teach them that there's something better. And that's where I think the popularity of the show came from, right? Because we were teaching the audience, hey, look, you've been fed this cake for 10 years, right? This is all you know. we're giving you something different. We're giving you something to chew on, something to think about, something to get emotion out of you, whether I hate these guys, I love these guys, I hate this question, I hate Donald Trump, I hate Joe Biden, whatever the question is, we're getting you some emotion. We're here to entertain, right? It's about entertainment.
Yeah. Do you almost, no, it's so important. Do you feel like that do you feel like you've done something right by getting these kinds of responses, by hearing from those that don't like what you're doing? I mean, is there an encouragement in that?
In the negativity, at first, my partner, he was a little thin-skinned, right? He's an artist, right? He was a popular musician when he was younger, and musicians need a certain type of love, right? Me, on the other hand, I don't feed off hatred, but it doesn't bother me. Right. You could say what you want to me. I don't care. Listen, again, I want to entertain people. I will tell you the biggest thrill I get a big thrill when people write us and say, hey, look, we've had people say, you saved my life. I wanted to kill myself, but you made me laugh. And then every Thursday when I tuned in, I laughed. And, as cliche as this may sound, it's like, if you're making a difference in one person's life, you're kind of doing your job. So again, I don't consider myself a star, or I don't have this grand, dreams of being a star, but I do believe that I have created something that no one else has. And I do think that we're making a difference in people's lives. And that to me is the most important thing.
That is so important. And that's, I mean, to hear that you've, had a message like that come in, that is really something deep and powerful. I mean, that's really great.
And the fact that they keep it real time, like I said, and that's right. What the fun is of what they do. Because you look at a lot of stuff and you can kind of tell, with it's restrictive, or there's a governor on it, and a few these guys, and there's not. And as far as media is going, you unfortunately see more and more of that stuff where things are muted. So like I said, it's important that you see stuff like this where you have people coming back, people asking the questions that other people want to hear without being censored, right? And that's kind of what we do. And that's why, look at other businesses. Look at on this side of the business with somebody like Sanj. Sanj doesn't give a shit. Sanj is just going to say it the way it is. It could ruffle feathers. It could piss people off. I've been doing what I've been doing for 30 years. Not all the things I say are popular. And, you hear my famous thing, like, if you're asking me the question, I'm going to answer you. And I said, you might not like what I have to say, but I'm going to be honest. So what do you want? And that's like everything in the world today. You want, people like politicians that lie, right? Make things sound pretty and everything else. Then when you hear somebody, let's use just good old state of New Jersey for it. I remember when Chris Christie came in, he said he was going to tax the shit out of everybody. Nobody was immune. Nobody, high five. As soon as the guy got in, like, what do you mean you're taxing me? I'm like, dude, you're not used to a politician. He told you what he was doing, man. I mean, he straight up told you what was going down. And like I said, and that's important. So when you get guys like Mike and Pharaoh, when you get people like Sanj has been doing what he's doing. When you're doing what you're doing for a really long time, and you have the knowledge and you have everything else, you don't have, there's no fear in telling people real stuff, right? If you're keeping it real. And the joke is you think of everything like a courtroom. There's slander, there's libel, but if you're telling somebody your experience with something, you might not want to hear it, but that's not slander. That's not libel. That's an experience that you've had. And like I said, and these guys do the same thing. They're talking about what they know or what they've witnessed or what they've been through. And that's really, to me, you and I, over 130 episodes, right? We've kept it that way. Say what's on your mind. Let people know what you think. And, that to me, I think is important. Being censored, to me, doesn't make for a good show or a good TV or good radio. It just doesn't, and sometimes controversy is just that. There's going to be controversy to what you say or what you do. But that probably means you do it right. What's the say? If somebody doesn't hate you or hating on you, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah. Ted DiBiase said in our studio, if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. Right. And in life, especially at our ages, right? You can't walk the center line of the road, right? You got to be on the left to the right, and you got to be honest with yourself, and you've got, no matter what, forget about doing a show, just in life in general, you have to tell people exactly how you feel. I think for too long we were raised to really say, keep it censored, right? Keep your feelings to yourself. Talk to your wife, talk to your mom and dad about it, right? But don't tell anybody else what you really think. I say bullshit. You tell people what you think. If people don't like it, they'll let you know, right? But you do it respectfully too, right? You know, I always believe that everybody has a right to their opinion. We don't all have to agree, but we should be intelligently talking about it.
That's right.
Yep, I think that's very, very important. Everything, like I said, keeping it real, keeping it honest, and at the end of the day, you're going to offend some people, but I do believe that most people's preference is to really know what you're thinking.
Yes, and keeping it real is what's I think a big part of what's helped you guys continue to grow. The personality, the personalities you featured, the personality of the show. Again, tell people where they can find you, and maybe also just tell us, you know, tease forward. How's the show growing? What's the next steps for the show?
So we're Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. We're on all social media: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. Name it, we're on it. We're on all the audio channels, and we're also on New York cable on channel 115 on every Tuesday and Saturday. Tuesdays at 9 p.m. and Saturdays at 11:30 a.m. and channel 20 at 7 p.m. My partner is Jimmy Pharaoh. Jimmy Pharaoh is the actual star of the show. Jimmy is a true entertainer, former music artist, loves the world of professional wrestling, idolizes every one of these guys that come in there. And the reason Jimmy is as good as he is because he truly has that passion. And honestly, Jimmy is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, right? He doesn't ever want to offend anybody. He wants to entertain. He wants you to love him. And to be honest with you, Jimmy is the reason why the show is where it's at now. Where do we want to go into the future? Look, we want to be the best out there for what we're doing. We want to be the show that everybody wants to see. We want to knock anybody, all these OGs that were there before us, we want to knock them off their ledge. And then again, we want to pull back the curtain, right? Because all in the world of wrestling, you know, as Rock knows, you got a lot of fake wrestlers out there that just bullshit their way through things. And more importantly, you've got a lot of fake agents out there that were in the biz when guys like us weren't. I'm not saying we're in the biz, but we weren't involved. It was their own little Idaho, right? They're unhappy that two fans from New York have come in and knocked down the door of professional wrestling. Their form of entertainment has destroyed everybody before them, everybody after them. We are numero uno, and they don't like it. Well, we want to expose these frauds that have been running this industry for the last 30 years. We want to tell people how fake they are and the bullshit, and they're not special, and they're just gimmicking everything out like a lot of these wrestlers are. We want to expose that because you know what? The fans have that right to know. The fans have that right to be treated with the respect that they deserve for spending their hard-earned money for 30-something years, right?
So the good guys, you're protecting the good guys, because what happens, especially, you know, Sag spoke about it, Drew spoke about it, remember Lloyd spoke about it. You have some of these guys that are working on your behalf, these promoters and these agents, man, and they're just, you know, excuse my French, are just fucking you left, right, and center. And you know, this is your livelihood, especially when you're not out, if you're not wrestling, you're going to go out on the road and you're doing appearances and everything else. You know, either they don't pay you, they give you a deposit and disappear. You got to chase them for money. They cancel a show 2 days before, and you know, it puts these guys in a rough spot because they've been entertaining people for years, and you know what you're not. Their reward is not to be screwed over by having these guys take their money, run, and do nothing. You know, we haven't mentioned names. Maybe, you know, maybe later we will, we won't. It depends how you protect people. The wrestlers have used a couple names before, but, you know, we'll leave that to Mike and Jimmy to talk about that. But, you know, what are you doing to protect these guys that have been out there entertaining you for so long? Like, I love Tony. I love Tony to pieces, Tony Atlas. You know what? Not a young man anymore. So people will try to take advantage of what he's doing. And I've been to places where I've seen it where it's like, and we know how Tony talks. Oh, Matty, these people, Matty, vultures, Matty. You see what I cannot believe, Matty, what they're doing. And I'm like, you know what? You are 500% correct. It's bullshit. I don't do this anymore, but let's go see what we could do. And when these guys are out there doing their thing and they have such a big audience, it makes people aware that, you know, some of the your favorite people. I mean, you know, Tony's a wrestling god. There's no better way to put it. You don't want him to be mistreated or mishandled or disrespected or none of those guys. So by people actually knowing, it's you're actually calling out the people that are hurting the people you grew up with and you loved, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, you know, some people go, yeah, you shouldn't say that. I'm like, well, you shouldn't be taking it if you're an honest agent, booker, promoter. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're taking care of your guy. And look, I'm not full of shit either. And Mike will tell you the same thing. There's stuff on the other side of the business where there's also abusive wrestlers who I won't name at the current moment, you know, that I'll get grouchy. And we have stories where I'll go, you know, I'm no slouch. I fought for 15 years. You make me growl. I'll go nose to nose and be like, look, you're pissing me off. I'm like, are we going to escalate this or are you going to behave? And, you know, it happens on both sides. You know, and I think sometimes when that kind of thing gets outed, you're protecting the people you care about. You're protecting, you know, the authenticity of how things are supposed to work, right? So that's why I think what they do, Tom, is so important because they bring that front and center. And again, sometimes the hardest conversations to have are the ones that no one wants to talk about because they're just that. They're uncomfortable, right?
That's true. That's true. Hey, question from it looks like a fan of Monte and the Pharaoh.
Innocent, what up, baby?
There's Innocent McGuire. How do you feel about the art of storytelling in wrestling being lost today?
On my end of it, I think that we're in kind of strange times, right? Because so many fans now, when I was growing up, right, you didn't really know what was going on. You got magazines that were 3 months old, and those were your Bibles, right? And that's the only kind of information you got. Right now, all the information, like with shows like us and other shows, the curtain's so pulled back. Fans nowadays, I don't think have the same love for this. Well, I'm going to call it a sport, to be fair, because I think it is in its own way, that people my age had at that time. So when we look and people say there's no storytelling, I think everything evolves. Wrestling has gone back to a television sporting event. And within television, you don't have time to tell the story like you did back when we were watching. I used to watch, they had storylines that would evolve over months, and they were incredible. You can't do that on TV anymore because today's audience, they don't have time. They don't have time to watch something build for months and months and months. So as the gentleman just said, what do I think about the storytelling? I think the storytelling is different. I don't necessarily think it's worse. It's just different, right? Look, if I go back to an old wrestling match, which I love, right, like Bob Backlund against Magnificent Morocco, right? I was in the Garden many times, see that match. And you watch it now. If that match took place now, the fans would boo that match out of the arena. So is the storytelling not as good? It's just different. And in fact, I don't think wrestling fans really realize what's happening right now. There's some stuff going on right now that is better than the stuff from way in the past that we remembered and loved. I mean, right behind me is a picture of Roman Reigns. I don't know if you guys can see it right now. Roman Reigns is a new new era wrestler. This guy, to me, is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He is quickly taking and going up the list. And when his time is said and done, he's going to be remembered as one of the all-time greats. So is it not good? It's different. That's my answer.
That's right.
And one thing Rocky brought up, I'll ask you guys this, is you brought up Andrew Anderson's name a few times. How is it possible a guy like Andrew Anderson, the look, the mic skills, the wrestling ability, how does this guy not get a shot at a bare minimum at NWA Power? At a bare minimum. I mean, the guy has the look to be in the WWE. He had the look to be in AEW for sure. But at a bare minimum, how is this guy not wrestling in NWA Power?
Honestly, I've had the conversation with them, and I'm saying it out of love. Takes a knee to too many people. And when you take I know, Mike, you've seen it. When you take a knee to too many people, they will, especially in a business like that, you're done. They'll eat you for dinner. Because like I said, the whole idea of, and look, this is from Vince McMahon's mouth, not my mouth. Sports entertainment is to keep people entertained, right? Look, having your best wrestlers of all time were not necessarily the best physical wrestlers with the physicality. It was their mic skills. It was the character. It's what they brought. That's what keeps you entertained. That's what keeps you coming back. I mean, let's really be honest. Some of the best that you see is, it's an episodic soap opera, right? Of what you go, because you can't wait to see the next episode, to see what goes on. So look, you want to see incredible moves. Wrestling has changed a lot in the last 2 decades. Instead of watching the big men fight and everything else, then you've started to see the day of the high flyers and everything else, and the luchadors and then New Japan and everything changing. But the one solidifier for all of them is to have somebody who's a great character and a great mic, right? That's what you want. You want to be drawn to it. That's what brings people into the ring, because it's that charisma. And so when it goes into something like that, if you bow and you take a knee to too many people, Mike knows people I'm talking about. I won't mention that he's taking a knee to. I'm like, they'll roll right over you. They don't give a shit. And unfortunately, that's one of the ugly parts of the industry. You could be a nice dude. You could be a good dude. And if you keep your guard down too many times, people are going to pull the proverbial rug out from underneath you, right? And so you're going to see a lot of guys that you've looked at in the last 4 decades of wrestling that probably should have gotten their fair shake. But if you take a knee and you bow to everybody, they're going to be like, you're done. You're just going to stormtrooper right over you, man. And that's my take, Mike. I don't know what you think.
I've known Andrew for a decent amount of time now, and I guess I totally agree. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I wish maybe then someone would have said, before they said, Andrew, you got to change the way, you got to become more political here. If you don't, you're just going to get shit on, because it's a shame. To me, it's a shame. So, I mean, it's not because he's a friend of mine or I just like him. I mean, I remember.
Well, you got to treat it like a business, right? You hit that certain age too. And you look at some of the other guys. If you're acting more goofy all the time instead of business, all of a sudden the goofiness shoots you in the foot and they eat you for dinner. You're done. They for whatever reason, even though that's what the premise of what it's built on, they'll eat you for dinner and you're done.
Well, that's in the real world too, right? I mean, if you're in the business world, right, you got to look a certain role. You can't, I mean, with no disrespect, you can't be a slob. And, you go to parties and the person that you bring into the party can't look like a slob. So, you're right. You can't be a goof in this world. You can be a goof to be liked if that's what you want. But if you want to actually be successful, you can't be a goof. So, yeah, I agree.
Good questions. Good questions coming in. If any other questions on wrestling or whatever you want to ask us, feel free to ask below. So you're a whiskey fan? We were talking about New York whiskey. What do you like to drink?
I'm not per se a whiskey fan. I do drink whiskey every so often. I'm more of a wine guy.
Like wine?
I definitely love a cigar for sure. Most recently,
I got you, dog.
I love you, man. You know that. But most recently, I just had my second heart surgery. So it's like I had to tone down a lot of different things that I was doing. In fact, I've got to probably drop a few pounds now because I've been feeling back to my old self. And once you get back to your old self, you're getting back in your bad habits. But yeah, I'm going to reintroduce the cigar back into my my way of life. And I get very excited when I hear about, like, 'cause again, I'm no expert on it. So when I hear all these things about the mixes of tobaccos and the certain flavors, it interests me a lot, right? It's like, wow, I want to know more about this because I do want to be a connoisseur of cigar smoking. Whiskey, on the other hand, I always love a good whiskey, but it just takes, Now, Pharaoh, on the other hand, that guy, he should have been on the show tonight. That guy, he knows his whiskey. He probably could have just talked about it the whole show.
Oh, it's all right. No, that's good. You're feeling better, and and you like any New York wines or any favorite wines you like in general?
I'm a Merlot guy, so just a solid Merlot will work for me. Any kind of red wine. I'm not a white wine drinker, so I like to have a red wine with my meal, and on the weekends, things like that. I have a habit once in a while of drinking too many bottles of wine, and it's funny if you drank beer most of your life, and then all of a sudden you switch to wine, it's a totally different animal, right? It's like wine will put you on your ass quicker than you could imagine. So it's like it sneaks up on you, and you're done.
It's true.
Oh yeah.
Whole different beast. It's those tannins, it's the construction. All right, so now we actually look at this. Innocent, thank you. Innocent has another question. Do you feel that Will Ospreay's style would work in WWE, and do you feel they would use him as one of the works in the world?
Will Ospreay is a really talented wrestler. Would his style work in the WWE? That's a really good question. I'm not so sure. Will, you know what? I'm going to say no on that. I don't think Will Ospreay is WWE material, and that's not saying he's not a great wrestler. The WWE, it's almost like sports nowadays, right? You guys could be great third basemen, and you could probably hit, and you probably, whatever. But if you're not 6'3" and a certain hand size, it doesn't matter how good you could play. They're not going to look at you, right? Because you're not in that specification of what they deem a ball player. And that's the way it's all analytics now, right? It's all analytics. And so Will Ospreay does not fall into the analytics of the WWE wrestler. Again, Rock could tell you a WWE wrestler against an independent guy. If you put the average independent guy, the average AEW guy in the ring with a Randy Orton, it's like Andre the Giant and a small person, right? There's such a big difference. So Will Ospreay does not fall into that WWE specification, if that answers the question. So no, Will Ospreay would not work in the WWE.
All right. No, thanks for that insight. And Innocent McGuire, thanks for the questions. Thanks to everyone watching. Keep on liking and sharing this video. And while you're at it, if you're a wrestling fan and you just want to hear something really different, either way, here's where to find them. Again, YouTube. There is the YouTube link. And then if you go on to all the podcast channels, Monte and the Pharaoh is the place to look. When could you guys tell that this was really taking off? Was there something that happened, a certain interview that was like, wow, now it's really taken off? Or was it more gradual? Was there something?
Like when we first entered the world of YouTube, that's when it started to take off, because it was like all of a sudden you're seeing, the world of Facebook, you would see like, a good day in the office would be 20 people watching you, right? And then you got into YouTube, all of a sudden you're watching, shit, there's 100 people watching. Then all of a sudden you see your video. One of our first shows on YouTube was with Tony Atlas. You spoke about Tony earlier, Rock. And I remember Pharaoh kept telling me, let's ask him about Bruiser Brody. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to ask Atlas about Bruiser Brody. I mean, that's been covered to nausea, right? And if anyone doesn't know, Bruiser Brody was a wrestler who was stabbed by the invader in Puerto Rico. Tony Atlas was there, and Tony Atlas was a big part of that whole murder, trying to help Bruiser Brody, and eventually was unsuccessful, and Tony found that his life in jeopardy after that. So Pharaoh finally convinces us to ask the question. We asked the question. Before you know it, 2 days later, there's 140,000 hits.
Wow.
Right? And it's and then YouTube starts contacting the channel, right? And I start doing these interviews with YouTube because of all their channels that they were looking at, our channel had the highest retention time, well over the average YouTube. So in this social media world, everybody focuses on views, right? It's like, oh, I got this many views. I got this. I got that. It's the retention time, really. You could have 1 million views, and if they're for 2 seconds, that is not going to do you anything.
You don't want flash in the pan stuff. Flash in the pan stuff is just quick in, quick out, and you're not capturing it. You don't actually have an audience. That's where you get to use the keyword. You went viral for X amount of minutes, and that was 15 minutes of fame. Yep.
That's exactly it. So our retention time was very high. So that's when I knew this started to grow. And then, like we discussed earlier in the show, people would write us, thank you so much, or I hate you guys, shut up, let the wrestler, just ask him a question, whatever else. But we knew we were drawing emotion out of people. So then I said to Jimmy, I'm like, look, we've got something here. I can sell this. And, I started going out to the world and started selling sponsors, and people were all over it. And, one of the success stories, one of our sponsors is a company called Good Fucking Wines, right? And, with a name like Good Fucking Wine, right? And they started sponsorship with us when they first came out. These guys got so many orders from our show, and they love working with us. That they've been around with us for 3 years. So, all our sponsors' ROIs are felt within 3 months on average. We've retained every sponsor since day one that they signed with us, and they continue to stay with us every year. And we just keep trying to build that. So our approach is that, no matter what size company you are, big and small, we want you to be part of the Monte and the Pharaoh family. So, that's basically how we knew that we kind of had something here.
I love it. And I'm gonna have to, I think I may not have heard of them. I just in another tab look, they actually have some whiskeys and vodka and wines. They have it all. So
when they started, they had one red table wine. One red table wine. And again, I don't want to brag, but I don't think anyone knew who they were until they were part of our show. And now,
amazing.
Good Fucking Wine is well known. So,
and it lives up to the name, yes.
Really good red table wine.
Yeah.
It's not just like it's not like it's flash in the pan wine. It's an actual. It's a good wine. It's a good wine.
Morning. Amazing. You guys have done so well. It's great to hear success stories in this world, in media. Not only a success story, but a duo that's done something unique, different with an approach. So hats off to you and the Pharaoh and Jimmy Pharaoh. I mean, you guys are really doing some great work, and it's really a real pleasure to have you on the show here.
Well, it's my pleasure to be on the show, and thank you. It's an honor. And
you got it, bro. Appreciate you as always. You know that.
Yeah, well, like I said, like what you getting to meet people like yourself, very, it's humbling. So yeah, thank you guys. I feel honored.
Yes, and I'm going to put it up one more time here. All podcast channels, there's where to find them. Monte and the Pharaoh, or go to the YouTube link right here, or watch. What are the channels there locally on the East Coast?
Channel 115 and Channel 20, Long Island Cable. Check your local cable listings. We're over 150,000 viewers watch us weekly.
Wow, that's amazing.
And get our merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees. And if you just want to be able to contact us or get any of our merchandise or autograph pictures from some of the wonderful guests that we've had in studio, go to Monte and thepharaoh.com. And a new sponsor that has joined Monte and the Pharaoh is Manscaped. You can get 20% off by using the discount code MANDP when ordering your Manscaped stuff. So, yeah, we're all over the place.
Some of that manscaping, right? We all need a little of that, don't we, Matty?
I do, man. It's weird. I go through those blades like once every 2 weeks. Is that good? That seems like it's probably not good.
You go through them that quick. How's that cigar looking? Show us that SP. Is it
Bobby, For every time you break that ash, burns right back perfect again.
Talk about manscaping. Look at that,
man.
Ash.
Yep. I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
And so hey, the other good news is we'll all be able to try one soon. We'll be excited to try it. And again, congrats to Sanj and the whole team there. How it's all grown, selling it out. Couldn't be more proud of that. That's awesome.
It's been a run, man. It's been what Sanj has done and put together with the Larry and everybody else and Rolla. It's really been nothing short of amazing, especially when you do something like that and you move those numbers and quantities grassroots, right? And that's something that we talk about here. That says a lot about what your product is, and especially when it's not, very specifically, this isn't for label chasers. And when people smoke this, even the label chasers have to kind of take a knee to what he's been able to do, and at that pricing. And there's really nothing more that I could say about that. I've been said in every episode. It's just been what he's been able to do is no less than mind-boggling. He's put the right teams together, the right people, and he's produced something truly amazing. Like I said, when you smoke these blacks, like I said, you're going to be floored. You're going to be floored. The amount of taste, like I said, that natural. You take that dark cocoa and goju pepper sweetness, medium full body, full of flavor down to the nub. And the consistency is there every single time. And obviously, just like a fine whiskey or a bourbon or a fine wine, not only is it being really good important, but obviously being consistent time in and time out is obviously hugely important.
So many great people watching tonight. It's so good to see so many of you all watching again. To everybody watching, thanks for watching. Maddie and I have so much great content, interviews, more great guests coming for you in 2023. And I'll talk about it next week. I actually just got back from Dominican Republic this past week. I'll tell you more about that later.
Well, we see you made it back, so I guess you weren't in prison, so it's good.
I made it back. Bro, I got to meet a local cigar there, our local cigar maker there, and some rum makers, and just had a fun time. Annabelle and I both did. But more to come on that. Thank you again for being.
Where were you? Glenn shot a question. Where were you in DR, Tom?
I was in Puerto Plata.
Puerto Plata,
right there. Yeah.
We gotta do wine day too. Like I said, his wine cabinet. So we gotta have Glenn one day. So you gotta have it. Got to be war. It's got to be whiskeys and bourbon versus the wines.
I love it.
We'll have a little bit of fun with that.
Glenn. I'll send something to Glenn, and I'll even send some whiskey to Monte and the Pharaoh. Just we've got to get your info. I'd love to send you guys some whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. If I promote one last thing on February 4th, Chris Masters will be in studio. And Chris Masters is knowing something for the Master Lock. And I've put up the Pharaoh's name that he will do the Master Lock Challenge. And if he can get out of the Master Lock Challenge, we've already collected $880, which will be contributed all that money and beyond. We still got a couple of weeks to go to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So we're asking everybody out there, if you have the opportunity, Jimmy Pharaoh will take the Master Lock Challenge. If he can get out, all donations and proceeds will go to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. It's for a great cause. That's on February 4th with Chris Masters.
Wonderful. Can we learn more about that on your website too?
Glenn has something to add to that.
Yep. Put that up there.
I got the 120 to make it 1,000 for you. Okay.
I'm not sure I heard him. What he said?
I got the 120. I'll make it 1,000 for you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So wow. Wow. Thank you very much.
Yep. I'll send you Glenn's info and everything. He, another cat who's as good as they get, that always does stuff for charity and great causes.
What a wonderful thing. Unbelievable.
It's a wonderful
humbling yet again. Thank you guys for allowing me to promote the show.
Much love, everybody. We'll catch y'all next weekend.
Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers. See you, San. See you.